Let's get more on this and speak to Peter Mathews in Los Angeles. He's a political science professor at Cypress College. Many thanks for joining us, Peter. Let's start with that meeting between Paul Ryan and Trump. What do you think we're going to expect from this meeting? Because we've seen so much division in the Republican Party. What are we expecting today?
Well, I do think that Paul Ryan and other Republican leaders will come aboard as Trump becomes more popular. Look at the polls right now. Hillary Clinton was 13 points ahead of him just 2 weeks ago. Today, she's in a dead heat. A Reuters poll showed she was 41% for Trump and 40% for Hillary. I mean, the other way around. 40% for Trump and 41% for Hillary, which is a dead heat even. And so as Trump comes up and catches up, the Republican leaders have to then jump aboard, and many of them will. And Trump doesn't even care if they do, because he seems to be getting support in other ways from other people. He's running a right-wing populist campaign, and that's what we've got to look for, is how he's expanding his support. And the fact, another poll came out, a Rasmussen poll, showing in Ohio, a very critical state, a swing state, which no Republican has ever become president without winning Ohio, Trump is ahead by several points ahead of Clinton today. And he's tied with her in Pennsylvania and in Florida. These are electoral votes that are going to go Trump's way if he wins them, and he's already within reach of victory in those states. Very dangerous situation for the Democrats and Hillary right now. They've got to get ahead of Trump somehow or the other, and the Republican leadership will come aboard, most of it, and support Trump if they think he's going to win. They don't want to be left out when he's a President Trump.
Okay, let's talk about how he's backtracked on a number of issues. He's recently on banning Muslims from the country. He's also backtracked on tax cuts, minimum wage, how to deal with debt. Surely as we enter the election race, his policies become a whole lot more important. Won't that impact his popularity?
Well, it will, and he's actually doing an ingenious thing, which I think is going to help him, because he's going all over the place to capture Democratic voters. He's coming out against free trade, against TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is a Bernie Sanders position. He's actually saying that he's going to go, the Muslim ban that he was talking about is just a suggestion. He's softening his approach to bring in more people from the Democratic side and independents. You got to remember one thing: independent, undeclared voters who are not Democrats or Republicans are the single largest category. 43% of American voters are independents today, whereas Democrats have dropped down to about 29% and Republicans about 26%. So if Trump can win that middle-of-the-road voters who are all dissatisfied, that's the other point I want to make. American voters are tremendously dissatisfied right now in the direction the country is going. 65% say the U.S. is going in the wrong direction. That is a terrible thing for anyone who's perceived to be a politician, establishment, such as Hillary Clinton. That's why the Democrats better look very carefully about who they nominate, and they might be reconsidering possibly Bernie Sanders, because he runs much stronger against Trump than Hillary does, especially after the latest polls. That'll be very interesting to see what they do at the convention, what Democratic superdelegates will do because of that. And by the way, Sanders has been on a roll. He's won 2 states in a row, West Virginia by a huge number, 16 points above Hillary yesterday. So that's an indication that Hillary's not as strong as she ought to be by this time.
That's interesting that you say that. I mean, you've seen Trump really focusing on Hillary Clinton in recent weeks, really on the attack, calling her things like a nasty, mean enabler and so on. I mean, is that his strategy now? Is this a preview of what we can expect from this election race?
I think it's a very conniving strategy. I think he wants to run against Hillary because for him, she would be the weaker candidate than Bernie, looking at the polls. And so he's going to act as if Hillary's already the nominee to give her an inside track on winning it. If he pretends that she's the nominee already, the rest of the country might start believing it, as many Democrats might, and they might try to nominate her rather than Bernie. So Trump has got a very interesting, conniving way of doing this, and also he's being negative in order to to put Hillary on the defensive. It's a terrible thing for him to call her an enabler. I mean, come on, she was the victim of what happened in that whole scene, and no one should call her an enabler, but he's doing it in order to put her on the defensive, make her defend herself, and throw her off stride. And this is a very dangerous game he's playing, but it'll actually end up working for him, and we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Indeed, it will continue to be a very interesting race to watch. Peter, really interesting to get your thoughts. Peter Mathews there, political science professor at Cypress College, joining us there from Los Angeles.